was your takeaway from the Mueller hearings? Did it feel like we were watching two Americas having two different hearings at the same time?
Well, certainly there was probably literally zero intersection between the questions asked by the Republicans to Robert Mueller and those asked by Democrats. Republicans are deep into conspiracy theories, rabbit holes, investigating the investigators. Democrats, on the other hand, hoping to bring the Mueller report to life in a hearing with a very taciturn witness who wasn't very cooperative with either Democrats or Republicans. And yet afterwards, essentially, each side proclaimed vindication. Each side proclaimed that they had somehow won the day. Both things cannot, of course, be true. And it's just a very, very depressing moment where instead of the kind of independent facts that we reporters and journalists value, I think people are just playing even facts as a team sport, as a partisan team sport in America today.
You mentioned the conspiracy theories. Let's look at what Sean Hannity was suggesting, some of the questions he was suggesting for the Republican congressman, and then look at what they actually asked.
Justin Cooper, didn't he smash Clinton's BlackBerry devices?
Justin Cooper, a Clinton aide who destroyed one of Clinton's mobile devices.
Were you aware that much of the application was based on Steele's unverified dossier, and when were you aware of it?
When did you become aware that the unverified Steele dossier was included in the FISA application?
Sean Hannity has been called the shadow chief of staff of the White House. He was a shadow congressman this week. So, Andrew, who successfully hijacked the conversation, and what does that even mean?
Yeah, he was also kind of a shadow press secretary. So there's this idea that we're all kind of having this unified national conversation. The top stories are going to be the top stories for everyone. The interpretation will be the same. That's obviously been shattered. That's not true at all anymore. And you saw Congress members like Matt Gaetz, Devin Nunes, who were clearly able to curve the reality sphere such that even if mainstream outlets weren't repeating their claims verbatim, they were kind of their narrative was swayed by it, so they said, oh, that hearing was low energy, it didn't move the ball forward on impeachment, and that gets echoed in mainstream papers, and you see a lot of mainstream journalists saying, you know, I wish we could talk more about substance, but the national conversation isn't headed in that direction, and it almost becomes this self-perpetuating prophecy.
There was a lot of criticism of reporters focusing on the optics of the hearing, but Susan, the optics did matter, I think. What did you think? Did the optics matter?
Yeah, look, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, you know, I understand this critique, Andrew, but at the same time, I have to say, like, first of all, what is the purpose of a televised hearing if not to elucidate and inform both the members of Congress and the public that's watching it? You can do that either by adding new facts and information to the record, which Bob Mueller said in advance he wasn't going to do, or by providing a compelling or engaging account, or illuminating it in some other way. I don't think there was anything really significantly changing for either Democrats or Republicans about this hearing. But you know, to hear many Democrats, many critics of the president tell it, they're so upset at the idea that Bob Mueller wasn't proven to be the most fantastic witness. We have to be able, A, to look at the situation as it is, and B, that doesn't mean that, you know, by pointing this out, you're making an equivalent between the monumental, and I say monumental, lying about the hearing that you've seen from President Trump himself, from his defenders. What they have been saying since the hearing is an extraordinary revision of the reality of the hearing. But that doesn't mean that Bob Mueller was a great witness just because Donald Trump has been lying about what was in the hearing.
Multiple things true at the same time, and let's look at the ratings for the hearing. I think this graphic shows Trump fatigue in 4 lines. You see the James Comey hearings 2 years ago, the Kavanaugh hearing last year, 20 million viewers. Mueller, only 13 million viewers during the day on the big networks. I think that's a sign of Trump fatigue. It's also a sign that Mueller was not an incredible witness. So I talked about these ratings on CNN, and then Stephen Colbert called me out.
You can't determine the value of Mueller's testimony by ratings. If that were the case, then Avengers Endgame would be president of the United States.
I think he's right. You can't judge the value. You can judge maybe impact of these hearings based on the ratings.